This story begins with the most powerful and feared crime boss in the Eastern Territory, a man named Abai. Behind his reputation as a ruthless gangster respected by many, Abai actually possesses a gentle side that few ever see. At home, he transforms into a loving husband and father. Every morning, his little daughter wakes him with cheerful laughter while his wife prepares breakfast and a warm cup of coffee for him. For Abai, simple moments like these make him forget the dark world he lives in outside. Sitting at the dining table, Abai compliments the taste of his wife's coffee with a smile. That morning feels warm, full of laughter and happiness, an irony for a man as hard as Abai. Not long after, their daughter asks permission to visit her grandmother with her mother. Abai agrees, but with one condition. His daughter must finish her chores first, then she can do whatever she wants. His wife and daughter happily accept.
That's the deal, okay?
Yes, I promise.
Abai then looks at the clock and says that his driver is already waiting outside, and he must leave early today.
See you later tonight. You'll be good at school. Learn heaps.
After Abai leaves, his wife realizes he forgot to take his medication. She knows that Abai suffers from bipolar disorder and must regularly take his pills to stabilize his mind. But lately, he has been careless about it. Outside, his personal driver, Kane, is already waiting near the car.
No, finish your smoke.
Thanks, boss.
They both get into the car and drive through the city streets, unaware that a police car is following them from distance. During the drive, Kane notices something. He glances at the rearview mirror and tells Abai that a police car is tailing them. Abai asks how he can tell. Kane replies calmly that as an experienced driver, he can sense a person's intention just from the way they drive, and that car is definitely a police vehicle. Abai challenges him to prove his skill. Kane presses the gas pedal and with sharp maneuvers manages to lose the police car in the busy traffic.
Just lose those clowns.
Yeah, once we hit the traffic.
Morning, cocksuckers.
They're running. Go! Fucking hell!
Once the situation is clear, Kane asks where they are heading today. Abai explains that they're going to meet a man named Frankie to settle a long-standing problem. In the past, they had agreed that Frankie would handle the Southern Territory while Abai controlled the East. But lately, Frankie broke that agreement and began moving into Abai's area, causing chaos. Abai intends to end it once and for all today. After that, he calls a man named Richard, a figure known as the money manager and launderer for various criminal groups. Some time ago, Abai had entrusted him with a large sum of money. But when he calls, Richard rejects the call outright. This makes Abai furious.
Ignoring me for over a week now. Thinks he's above me.
Not long after, he stops the car at a location and meets another man. He hands the man an envelope and mentions an apartment number along with the exact time, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, to deliver it there. The man nods and leaves immediately.
Knock twice. Slip it under the door.
Meanwhile, Kane is seen practicing boxing. People know him as a hard, brutal man with no mercy. He lives off blood and violence, hunting targets, finishing jobs, then walking away without looking back. After a long training session, Kane stops by a store to buy a drink. But as he turns, 2 young men stare at him with challenging looks, as if trying to pick a fight. Inside, Kane feels his blood boiling, but when he sees 2 police officers nearby, he restrains himself and decides to walk away. He knows today is not the right time to start trouble. Arriving at his apartment building, Kane passes by a strange man. Their gazes lock, sharp and predatory, like 2 wild animals ready to pounce.
Подвинься, мудак.
Иван, пропусти парня.
Okay.
But when a woman walks past and notices them, both immediately turn away and part without a word. Kane then enters his apartment and goes straight to shower. On the other side, The man who had received the envelope from Abai is now preparing to carry out his task. Following the instructions, exactly at 3 in the afternoon, he arrives at Kane's door and slips the envelope underneath. Kane, just out of the shower, sees it, picks it up, and opens it. Inside is a photo of Richard, the same man who refused to answer Abai's call earlier. Without hesitation, Kane gets ready for his new mission, to eliminate Richard.
Yeah. Job needs to be done the next 24 hours.
Meanwhile, Richard is at home. He receives a call from an unknown number, assumes it's from a client, then hangs up and continues with his activities. While he's in the shower, his phone rings again. This time, his wife sees the incoming messages and discovers proof that Richard is having an affair. Earlier, Richard had told her that he had an important meeting today, but now she knows that this so-called important meeting is just a cover.
Fucking stud.
When Richard comes out of the bathroom, he casually tells his wife not to wait for him tonight because he might come home late. She stays silent, holding back her anger and heartbreak.
I love you.
Love you.
Richard then leaves the house in his car to meet another woman, unaware that his wife is secretly following him. At the same time, Kane is already in the area, tailing Richard's car from distance. Inside the car, Richard is talking on the phone with the woman he is going to meet. The woman sounds anxious and admits she feels guilty because she is pregnant. She says their relationship was a terrible mistake and that if Richard's wife ever finds out, everything will fall apart. But Richard tries to calm her down, saying she's overthinking and reassuring her that his wife will never find out anything.
Yes, she has no idea what's going on.
You know.
Don't feel guilty.
Please call Kelly.
Calling Kelly's mobile.
Meanwhile, Richard's wife, who has been following his car, starts to cry. She feels betrayed, broken, and lost, not knowing what to do. In despair, she calls her sister, Kelly, to pour out her heart. After several attempts, Kelly finally answers. With a trembling voice, the wife tells her that her husband is cheating and is now on his way to see the other woman. She also reveals that she is pregnant and can no longer live with the man who has destroyed her trust. Kelly tries to calm her down, telling her to stay composed and not act recklessly.
I think we're just having an affair. With who? This girl that he names Lollipop was saw it with my own eyes.
But without them realizing it, the situation has already grown far more complicated. Not long after, Richard speaks again with the woman he's meeting, and it turns out that woman is none other than Kelly herself, his wife's younger sister. Kelly tells him that everything is over and that no matter what happens, they must never see each other again, not even tonight. After saying that, she ends the call. Richard, enraged, throws his phone and turns his car sharply into a parking area, his mind consumed by suspicion that his wife might be following him. When Richard stepped out of his car in the parking lot, he saw Kane already standing in front of him. Richard instantly realized that his death was imminent. But just as Kane pulled the trigger, Richard managed to push his hand away. The bullet flew straight and struck his own wife, who had arrived quietly and was standing beside him unnoticed. Seeing this, Kane was furious. He had never intended to kill an innocent woman. In a panic and rage, he fired 2 or 3 more shots before quickly fleeing the scene. As he ran away, he tried to call Abai to report the fatal mistake he had just made, but the call was answered by Abai's wife, who told him that her husband was not at home. Kane was confused and didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Abai had arrived at a club with his driver. It was here that he would meet Frankie. They waited for a while until Frankie finally arrived with his younger brother. Abai greeted him by extending his hand for a handshake, but Frankie refused. Moments later, he embraced Abai in a gesture that seemed superficially friendly. Then Frankie's brother began mocking Abai in his own language, assuming Abai wouldn't understand. But Abai was far more intelligent than they thought. He understood every word.
What, you play chess or something?
He looked directly at Frankie and said firmly that he wanted to get straight to the point. He reminded Frankie that he seemed to have forgotten their agreement. Frankie had repeatedly encroached on Abai's territory, causing many problems. But Frankie only smiled without saying a word. After a while, Frankie pulled out a chessboard and said they should settle their dispute by playing chess. Abai was surprised and asked why he wanted to play chess. Frankie explained that they would wager their respective territories. If Abai won, the Southern Territory would belong to him. But if Frankie won, the Eastern Territory would be his, and Abai must promise never to interfere again. He also insisted that Abai must completely disappear from his business.
How about the winner lives, the loser dies?
Hearing this, Abai replied sharply that he didn't play for something so small. If he were to play chess, the stakes had to be greater. Frankie looked at him in confusion and asked what could be greater than wagering territories. Abai coldly answered that if he won, he would kill Frankie, and if Frankie won, then Frankie must kill him. Their lives would be the stake. He urged Frankie to start the game immediately. Frankie grew angry at his words.
You for real, old man? We ain't dumb playing this game.
He shouted that Abai was insane for risking his life over a game of chess. He refused and said such a game would never happen. He turned around and started to leave with his brother. But Abai's men quickly stopped them and forced them to sit back down. Frankie became even angrier and said that Abai shouldn't think he came alone. He had anticipated Abai's trickery, so before coming, he had already sent his men to Abai's house. He threatened that if anything happened to him, his men would kill Abai's entire family. He advised Abai to let him go. Abai glared at him and asked if Frankie really thought he could harm his family. Frankie confidently replied that he could. Hearing that, Abai told him to call his men. Frankie immediately did so.
Boss, it's weird. It's fucking empty. What do you mean's no one there?
When the call connected, Frankie smiled and ordered them to enter Abai's house so he could hear his wife's screams himself. Frankie's men entered the house, but after searching every room, found no one. Then they saw a large box and informed Frankie of it. But as soon as they opened the box, a massive explosion erupted.
What's in the box?
All of Frankie's men were killed instantly. Abai looked at Frankie coldly and said he never played small. Before coming to meet him, he had already anticipated Frankie's capabilities and possible moves. That's why he had planned everything since morning. Now all of Frankie's men were dead, and Frankie would gain nothing from his own death. Abai told him that the only chance he had to stay alive was to play the chess game and win it because, in the end, he would still die, whether he won or lost. After saying this, Abai began the game.
Winner lives, loser dies.
When it lives, loser dies.
With no other choice, Frankie joined in. The game progressed slowly. But after a while, Abai began to realize that he had forgotten to bring his medication from home. Without it, his mental state started to deteriorate. He began showing strange behavior and losing control of his thoughts. On the other hand, Frankie played in fear. The tension was evident on his face because he knew that day was likely his last. But Abai's mind grew increasingly unstable, unable to make sound decisions. One by one, he made wrong moves until finally realizing he had truly lost the game.
Good, Frankie.
Checkmate.
Fuck yeah!
You're going to lose. You always lose.
Suck a nut!
Come on. You lost everything.
Frankie, now victorious, couldn't believe he had actually beaten Abai. He laughed loudly, mocking and ridiculing him for losing. Filled with rage, Abai pulled out his pistol and shot Frankie's younger brother in the head without hesitation.
You said you're a fucking man and you weren't the dog!
Then he stood up, cursing and shouting at Frankie. He also began insulting others around him. Everyone present grew terrified, realizing that the man before them was no longer the Abai they knew, but someone entirely different. His demeanor had changed completely. He screamed and asked his right-hand man how many people they had killed. The terrified man, panicking, replied that they had killed many people, so many that he had lost count. Hearing that, Abai immediately shot him in the neck without mercy.
We're all monsters. But the thing is, I'm the biggest monster of them all.
People outside the room heard the gunshots and grew furious. They started drawing their weapons, but Abai moved faster, shooting everyone one by one without fear. Kane, standing there, witnessed everything. He realized that Abai's condition had worsened beyond control. Suddenly, another figure appeared, one who looked exactly like Kane. The moment he appeared, chaos erupted. This other version of Kane was far more brutal and violent, just like the real Kane used to be. Meanwhile, the driver Kane could only stand frozen, watching helplessly. Abai, or rather, Kane's personality that had now taken over him, pointed the gun into Frankie's mouth and forced him to apologize.
Today's a good day to die, Frank.
But Frankie couldn't utter a single word. Kane then pulled the trigger and shot Frankie dead. Now only 2 people remained. Kane the Savage and Kane the Driver. The brutal Kane approached the driver Kane and told him to pick up a gun. When he refused, the brutal Kane beat him to the ground, then handed him the weapon. The driver Kane stood up, holding the pistol, while the brutal Kane told him he would count to 3, and then the driver had to shoot. If he didn't, the brutal Kane would shoot him instead. The driver grew more tense and terrified. That was when the truth was finally revealed. The brutal Kane was none other than Abai himself. Abai suffered from dissociative identity disorder. In his daily life, he appeared calm, but whenever he needed to kill, the sadistic personality of Kane would take over his body. He had lived this way for years. In his mind, he believed that Kane lived in that apartment, but in reality, Abai and Kane were the same person. Every day at 3 o'clock, Abai would transform into Kane. The 2 personalities had never collided because Abai always took his medication on time. But today, since he forgot to take it, Kane's personality completely took over Abai's body for the first time. Now it was no longer Abai who controlled the body, but Kane. His driver stood frozen, not knowing what to do. He had worked for Abai for a long time, but in recent days, he had begun to realize that his boss was completely out of control and capable of anything, even killing without hesitation. Now Abai, or Kane, pointed his gun at his own driver. The driver realized that if he didn't shoot first, Abai would kill him. As Abai began counting to 3, the driver fired, and the bullet pierced straight through Abai's head, dropping him to the ground. Kane the driver let out a deep sigh of relief, and that is where this story ends.